Okay, welcome everybody. Firstly, I just want to apologize for missing the last lesson. Okay, welcome everybody.
Ooh, sounds good.
Firstly, I just want to so I do want to apologize for missing that lesson due to tech issues. I think I've got them resolved now, and I can certainly do the stream for you. Hopefully, I just want to check that you can hear. So you're gonna hear some sound from the computer. I just want to make sure everything's coming out right. I just want to check that computer. I just want to make sure everything's coming out right. I just want to check that computer. I just want to make sure everything's coming out right. I just want to check that. Okay, looks like we got good sound. Okay, as I said, this will be one of my first lessons that I'm going to be doing for the year. Hoping to help a lot of you guys get into writing music. Maybe it's something you've always wanted to do as a career. Maybe it's something you wanted to do as a dream, just as a hobby that you want to do on the side. And you're just feeling like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So where do I even start with this? So today I'm just going to give you a basic lesson of how to get started and start writing 16 bars, do a little bit of harmonization in those 16 bars. And what I'm really going to be focusing on is just starting with the white notes so that you can write in key. Moving on and using structure to fill out your music and make sure it gets to 16 bars and even grow further than the 16 bars. From there, we're going to do a little bit of harmonizing, just 3-part, simple stuff. And then lastly, we're going to add some polish, do some rhythmic stuff just to get your piece of music sounding really nice. So first things first, what I'm going to start with is just talking about whether you should be writing on what we call DAW as musicians. And DAWs are really programs like Logic Pro, GarageBand, FL Studio, Cubase, and all such software that helps you, that helps a lot of professionals go from writing music to creating musical parts, recording if you need to record, and mixing and mastering. You can really do an entire album, an entire song in a DAW. Now the alternative is if you're like someone like me who does a lot of writing music for orchestras, musicians who play live, is you might want to write on notation software. So what you're seeing on your screen right now, for instance, is a screenshot of my DAW, not really a screenshot because it's live, of my DAW, which is a Logic Pro. That's me playing some piano there. See the notes being played in. That's a DAW, Logic Pro. The difference with that is that you can also play from notation software such as Sibelius, and that looks like this, coming up on your page in the bottom right side. Now, notation software helps you obviously write specific notes for musicians to read. Now, if you're someone coming into music, you might be feeling a lot of anxiety about whether I should be writing with notation. I mean, you probably don't know how to read music at all. And I just want to encourage you. It's really not as hard as you might think. In fact, one of the things that I learned, because I started learning music much later on in my life, in my 20s already, is that it was a lot quicker and easier for me to learn how to use notation software than it was to hear chords, hear harmony, advanced harmony, going from major, minor, to major 7, to minor 7s, to 9s, to 13s, to all of that stuff. In fact, even having done music for more than 10 years, I still struggle with that. So it would be a good idea to just hear me out and see how easy it is to learn notation software, because really your eyes as one of your senses have been well trained into looking at patterns, seeing patterns in words, seeing patterns in shapes, and reading music is no different. And I tell you that I honestly prefer to use notation software just because I came in later. So my eyes are still far stronger than my ears, even though I've got decent ears now. But that said, I'm going to start off this lesson on the DAW, just so you can get a sense of creating melodies, and in fact creating a motif, and then we're going to move on to the notation software so you can see how that works. Now, have some water here, getting parched. Now, first thing I want you to think about when writing music, especially if you don't know what you're doing, is the layout of a keyboard. So if you look on your screen there with the door on the left, you're seeing a keyboard piano layout, and it's got white notes and it's got black notes. Now that can be pretty confusing when you don't know anything about music theory. And what I suggest is that when the first thing you want to do is write on the white notes. All these notes over here are all in the same key. Well, musicians will know what a key is, but a key, how do I put it? For me, a key is you should consider it as almost a musical alphabet. So when we are in the key of C, we are using these notes, much like when we are writing in English, we are using these letters. And if we are writing in another language, you might, like Arabic, you might start finding some different letters creeping in. Or in my language, just Xhosa, you might see some combination of letters that create different sounds. And that for me is how a key works, right? You've got the 12 notes of the scale, and we use 7 of them to create the music that we'll be creating. In this case, we are in the key of C, and it sounds like this. Those are all 7 notes, plus an 8th top note, which is the same note, C, C. Right? Those are all the notes of the key of C. Excuse me. Headphones were just hooked on there. Now, when you use a key of C, especially when you are new to music, when you are new to music and you're using the key of C, it's really helpful because it's very limited in terms of how you can go wrong. If we start introducing black notes and how many black notes are in the key of G versus how many black notes on the key of E flat, then it can get a little bit more challenging. But at this point, I think I just want you guys to think in the key of C. And in the key of C, I want you to just pick 5 notes. You can repeat a note, but I want you to play 5 notes as the beginning of your melody. Something like, right? That's 5 notes. And what we call this in music is a musical motif. A musical motif is a short 2 to 5 note phrase, which is often repeated throughout your music to create the melody. Okay, I'll play that again. Okay, you can use that as the starting point. In fact, I am going to use that as my starting point for this piece of music. I'm going to write these 5 notes. And these will form the basis of my melody. So I'll record them here in my DAW. Okay, so already what you can see here in the DAW is that we've got 4 bars covered. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So we've got basically a 2-bar phrase, which is sustained for another 2 bars. Dum, D, C, E, B, D, C. And what I'm going to do, just for myself, I'm going to quantize all of this. Note. And from a scoring perspective, it looks like this: C, E, D, B, D, C. Now, what I want you to pick up is that, not even want to pick up, I'm actually going to take from here, I'm already going to move on to the notation software over here. And I'm going to write that out. And this notation software, by the way, is called Sibelius First. It is free to download. That's too high. Mine is on middle C. C, E. And I believe we're in a C. Nope, that's not how it is. Da, da, da. How did I write this? Da, 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 da. Oh, it's at a different tempo. Okay, just gonna change up this tempo so it matches. 120. All right, so from here on out, I'm actually just gonna use our notation software to write the rest of this piece of music. Let's fill the screen here. Okay, now I want you to think patterns. So what you're seeing here is that it's going from this line here underneath the stave is called middle C. So we're going from C, and it just goes up like an alphabet. Hey, it's C. Then the next note in the space is D, E, F, G, A, B, and then you're back at C. So this is a very easy way of knowing where you are, right? And in C, there's no accidentals, there's nothing. It's just put the notes there. So what you're seeing with this pattern is we got C, and then we skip a note and go up to this note here, which is E. And then we start a note below C, and then we skip a note again, which is C, and we go to the D, and then we end on C. Sounds like, one more time. Okay, and right off the bat, we have got our first motif. 5 notes, which span 4 bars, and that create our sound. Now with 4 bars, you could consider a motif up to a theme, but in this case, because it's 5 notes, I would still say this is just basically a motif. Now, how do you extend this? How do you extend this to get it to the 16 bars? The first little trick I want you to do is simply repeat it. Right? And let's hear how it sounds when it's repeated. Okay, that sounds okay. It's not a very good melody, but it's the start of a melody. So maybe what I want to do is lift this melody a little bit, make a little bit of a tweak somewhere just to make it sound a little bit fresh. So what if, instead of going down on this note, the last note, I go up, right? I've changed one note, which has gone up instead of down, just to create a different vibe. And let's see what happens to our motif then. Goes. That sounds really, really nice. And already we've got half of our piece of music. So this is how, and I suggest this to everyone, from beginner to professional. When you've got a deadline, when you've got to write music quickly, use steps like this. Write a small motif, repeat it, change one thing, hear how it sounds. Now, what we want to do is figure out how do we do the next 4 bars. And what I can already tell you, a useful trick when writing a 16-bar melody is that the last 4 bars, 13, 14, 15, and 16, are just a repeat of the first 4. Mostly. Right? And what I want to do, or there'll be a repeat depending, because we're in the key of C here and I've ended with the note C. If I had ended with the note C in the second 4 bars, I might repeat the second 4 bars as my last 4. And this is where your taste and what sounds good to you works. I feel like this is going to sound good. So what do I do in this middle bit? Now, a good thing with music is that by using repeating structures, it makes melodies often very memorable. So you don't want to go too far away at this stage. So maybe we repeat our middle 4 bars. maybe we start them just the next note up. So instead of starting on C, we go up to starting on D. And what I might change is use the same rhythmic thing that I've been doing, not rhythmic rather, but the same interval thing where I'm skipping a note and going up and go down instead. So I start on D, the next note is C, I skip that and go down one. And so this one goes up, then the next one goes the note below. So let's go the note above here on bar 10. And that also skips a note, goes down. And then we can just end on our starting note like we did. Right. Let's hear how this basic melody starts, because we've already composed in the, how long have I been here? Maybe 15 minutes I've been here. We've composed a 16-bar melody just by using a 5-note motif that was repeated, one change in the first repeat. Then I used the original melody at the end, and then I did it again, and I just almost inverted the second part. Let's just hear the whole thing. Okay, that's actually really, really nice. I like that. And I could keep it, but I do feel like this note at bar 9 could do with starting higher than the last note. So almost modulating higher. I would go up to, and then same here. I'd actually go up to the whole way. Let's hear what this sounds like. So if I come from here, start from bar 5. Okay. I really like that height. The only thing here is for me is that in bar 11, and this is a taste thing, right? So I've already established this kind of pattern, but I feel like it could go down. So instead of going up to from the C to the F, it could go down one more. And that's a purely taste thing. The other one works as well, so you can just choose. But again, we went from a motif, repeated that motif, changed one thing, use the original motif at the end, and we're now just fiddling with these middle 4 bars here, bar 9 to bar 12. So let's listen to it when it's like this now. Yeah, that sounds nice. I like that. All right. I consider that a complete melody. There are some things we're gonna do a little bit later just to add some polish to this melody. But at the basic level, you've got your first 16 bars written. Now, when you write music, especially when you want people to play your music, whether it's a band, whether it's with your friends, what you want to do is write a little more than just a melody. What you want to do is start adding what in music we call harmony. Now, to show you what harmony is, I'm just going to leave the notation software. And I'm going to come back here to our DAW. Now, if you're looking at the notes on the left, you've got your scale of C. It goes like that. Now, in principle, the basic idea of what harmony is playing two or more notes at the same time. So if I'm playing a C, a harmony would be to play maybe the next note next to it at the same time. That's a basic harmony. Or you can skip a note and play the next one, right? Or you can skip 2 notes, skip 3 notes, 4 notes, 5, 6, right? And that gives you the octave. Now, as a general rule, what you want to do, not even as a rule, but as a general piece of advice, what you want to do at the beginning is whenever you play a note, skip a note up or down and play that note. Or if it's C, gives us a nice minor vibe. And if you want to do a 3-part harmony, which is what I am suggesting, is to skip another note. That's a chord C. Right, at the bottom I'm just playing 2 C notes. Then I'm playing C, skip a D to E, skip the F and G. And that at the basic is your C major. You can do this with the next set of notes. D, skip the C, play the F, skip the G, and play the E. D minor, up, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, and then you're back at C. And really what's great with the doors is, for instance, if you've noticed at the middle, at the top middle of my door, Logic actually writes the chords for you. C, D minor, E minor, F, G, A minor, B diminished, C. So if you know nothing about chords, nothing about music, this using a DAW like Sibelius is actually, not Sibelius, sorry, a DAW like Logic is very useful. But let's go back to our notation, because it's all well and good to say it. How do you do it on a keyboard? But if you're starting out with music, you don't necessarily know how to play a keyboard. So what you want is, how would I do it with the notation software? Because you more than likely know how to write. So let's go back to our notation software. 1 second. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with our first note. Now, if you notice, our first note here is on this bottom line. So I'm going to come here, same shape, I'll pick the same shape, and I'm going to write C. Right, I just hit C on a keyboard. If you're using Sibelius first, it's very useful. You can just literally click the notes. They correspond to what's on a keyboard. And what I want to do is write the next note. Now, on Sibelius, a good way of doing this is, if you want to write another note that's not the same as your one, if you want to repeat that one, you can just press 1, and you see it repeats the same note. Or you can press 2. If you want the next note, you can press 3 to skip a note, press 4 to skip 2 notes, press 5 to skip 3. Now, what I have suggested in terms of harmony, even if you don't know what chords are, is to do the skip a note approach. So if I'm at C, what I want to do is, instead of hitting 2, which will be next to it, I want to hit 3. And if I want to skip a note again, I'm going to hit 3 again. Right? And you can see pattern-wise, and this is why I suggest using notation software, is that you can easily see what you're doing when you're writing music. You can see there's a C, and it's on a line, and then the next note is on a line, and then the next note is on a line. But what happens here? Let's say I want to harmonize this E. Now, what's interesting is, if you see this note that's on this line, is that you have a note already in the C chord that's on this line. So what you could do, a simple way, is to keep those three notes the same. Right? So now, instead of skipping above, like I said, you can play your bass note and then you can skip one that is above it and get to the E, or you can skip one below it. And you get something like that. That's a minor chord, A minor. In this case, we've got the E, we've skipped one above it, we've skipped one below it. That gives us the chord C. Now what do we do here? All right, we've got a B. B. You can skip a note again, press 3, skip a note again, 3. Right, again the D is in the same chord. Right, and then you're back to your C. Here. C, skip, skip. Right, and I'm just gonna put this bracket. I'm not gonna teach this stuff now because this is just stuff for another lesson, but we just wanna see that, as you can see, these notes are in spaces. In bar 2 here, these notes are all in a space and these notes are all in a space. These notes are all on lines and this note is on a line. It sounds something like this. Right? Sounds really nice. Now, to get through the next 4 bars, what we know is actually we did the same thing. We repeated these 4 bars to create this and only changed the last note. But in that last note, you can see it's already in this chord. So what I can do is I can simply repeat all of this. And the second bit sounds like this. Okay, sounds good so far. Sounds all right. We'll get into how we can make this better in a little bit when we do the polish part. But let's move on to the next section. I just want to put some double bar lines here for anyone who's a musician who does writing for a living. Double lines are really, really good for musicians who have to read what you are writing. And I tend to do them every 4 or 8 bars, depending on how long the piece of music is and where the changes occur. It'll just help you with double lines and well. So now we are on the F. Now I notice here that both the D and the F are in spaces. Now I could do what I did before, which is start on the F and go up and up. But if I do that, what you'll notice and skip a note is I'll notice that the top note, this one here, is actually a C, not a D. So how about, instead of starting on the F on this one, I start on the D, which is the next note. So now all these 2 notes are in a space, and these 3 notes in a space. Right? And then we go up to the G. This time I'm just going to repeat. These notes are in a line. G, D, D. And I've started with the E. Now, I wouldn't do it like this necessarily. There's some things that I'm going to show you in terms of chords a little bit later. But for now, let's do it like this. Right. All in a line. And then they land on the D again. Right. And as we've stated, the last 4 bars are the same as the first 4 bars. Whoopsies. Right. And now what we've got is a 4-bar, a 16-bar melody with basic harmonization. 1 second. Cool. And that, bringing it back up, sounds like this. All right, so now all of a sudden we've got this melody, still very simple, but it's a melody with harmonized chords using the skip a note system. Now, one thing I would like to suggest, and one of the reasons I did this with 4 instruments instead of just one, is that what you want to add right at the end is the bass. A melody always works really well with bass, and you'll actually find that most of the time when I write my first couple of melodies, I write them with a bass first before I harmonize. But in this case, let's just do the bass. And what I do with the bass is write the bottom note of each of these. So this one is C. C in the bass clef. The next one is B. The next one is C. Right? And I believe it's the same. Here. And then we change here to a D. And then we change here the next one to an E. And then the next one is a D. Stays on D. And then the first one is the first 4 bars. The last 4 is the first 4 bars again. And it sounds like this with a bass now. Okay, that's really good. There are some places here, like bar 2 and bar 6, bar 11. No, is it bar 11 as well? Just hear it. No, I actually like bar 11. There are some things here that you could change just to make it a little bit nicer in terms of music theory, because in part 2, what you've got is actually a B minor, and what I think would work better in this case is probably something like a B over G. Let's just have it. Yeah, that could work really nicely. But I'm not going to do that now. I think there's a separate lesson that I'm going to do about chords and harmony and how you select the right harmony rather than doing it here, because I think our focus here is how you write 16 bars and just basic harmonization. That's going to work. Just keeping this rhythmic thing going here. Should sound good. Now, the last thing I want to cover is just something about polish and rhythm. As you can see here, in terms of our patterns, is that every single note is starting at the same place. So while there might be repeats here in my keyboard, and the notes are moving here, they all start on this beat 1 here, beat 1 here, beat 1 here. And what I mean by that is simply 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. I think this time signature is actually 2/4. Is it 2/4? Yeah. Let's just change that. It's yet another lesson for some other time, but it should look like this. Is it? One, two. No, it's 2/2. Ooh, that's. Why did I say 2/4? 2, 2. That's a lesson for some other time signatures, but let's just have it. Two, 5. Yep, that's correct. Make it look like I know what I'm doing. Easier way of doing this, just select all of them and you do that. These are fine. Should look like that. Just neatening it up. And for anyone who writes for musicians, this is a really good tip, is to always neaten up your scores. Always make them as easy as possible to read for the musicians who will read them. Just gives you a greater sense of professionalism. Now what we're going to do is, with all these notes landing, one of the things we want to do is maybe add a couple or shift them, just to create a sense of rhythm and a sense of movement. So what I might do, for instance, is this. Sorry. I might make it shorter and start here. I might do it like this. And then add a note that runs up. Make this one start a little bit earlier. The B. Now I'm just starting to introduce some rhythm into this. You see, you'll have this keypad on Sibelius that allows you to shorten the notes. So if you see here, it's what looks like an O is the longest version. Then half of that is this. Then half of that is this. Then half of that. They just halve the whole time. That's how music works with this. And what I want to do is maybe repeat this. No, actually go up to the C. But as a small note, this is called a quaver note, to the D and tie it on. Let's see what that sounds like. So I'm using the same notes, but I've pushed some back and moved some forward. And it sounds like this. Okay, that's rather terrible. But I'd actually like it to start on the downbeat. That's fine. And just extend this by a bit. I'll push this one back, I think. And I'm just using patterns here. You can play around with this until it sounds nice to you. And this is really the starting process of composing. You just play what's nice to you. I'm gonna move this one back. Something like this. That's what I'm hearing. Make this long, and I might go up, and I want to keep them within. Sounds like this. And then here I might change it and push it back. So I push this note back. These little things here are called rests on the other side of either side of notes. Change the rhythm here. Just got a straightforward up. And I want to go again to the F. Sounds like this. Okay, get some movement. F. Just down to the note that we skipped. Back to the F, which is in the chord. You see the F there. Put it there. It's a good way of making sure things sound right, just to make sure that they are in the chord you're doing. And pull this one forward. Sounds like this. Is the C in there? No, it's a B. So I might go. Actually, no. I want to put the D here. Just go down one note as a technique. You see, I'm just messing around, but at the start, I'm always keeping the original note. So I'm not really changing the first note, but I'm rather messing with the rhythm of the notes that come after. And what I might do here is do an arpeggio that literally runs on the scale. So if it's a D, the next note is the middle note, which is the F. The next note is that C, no, A. Yes, and then back to the F. So if you look, I'm literally playing the notes that are in this note, this note, this note. I'm playing them now horizontally, we would say, as musicians. You've got the D, see? But as the chord loss, I'm playing them as they land. It should sound something like this. And it goes back to the original melody. And as I've said, that's the original one. Okay, let's listen to the complete thing and see whether we like it. Yeah, I might hold here just for the end. hold here. It's only 16 bars. And just like that, you have 16 bar melody. Now, this isn't perfect. I'm sure a saxophone player might question where they're going to breathe. I might actually shorten this last one here like this so that they can have a place to breathe with these rests. Just give a musician a chance to breathe because a sax player needs to breathe. But largely, we've got a decent first attempt at a melody. And this is all it takes, really, for you to get started in terms of your writing process, particularly if you know nothing. Just remember that the first step is just use all the white notes. Get yourself a keyboard, get yourself a DAW. If you want to write on a DAW, get yourself some notation software. You don't even need a DAW if you have Sibelius First. And you'll see in my description, there's a link to various DAWs. You've got your Sibelius DAWs and notation software. So you've got Sibelius First, and I mean, I'm not sponsored by any of these. I've got no followers. But you've got Sibelius First, which is your free notation writing software in terms of DAWs. You can use Logic Pro, which is in the link. And in fact, I've got a link to a 90-day free trial to Logic Pro. And there's a little secret to that, is that if you download the 90-day free trial to Logic Pro and it runs out, if Apple has updated their Logic software, often the free trial will work again and again and again. So you just re-download it. I did that for like 3 years before I could afford Logic. If you're someone who wants to work on Ableton, I've got a link to Ableton Live Lite in the description, which is free. There's also an Ableton trial. There is Cubase in there as another DAW if you want to try that out. And that's got a free trial, 14 or 13 days. And you can also use a subscription to own. And I've also got the subscription to Sibelius Ultimate if you really want to start experimenting with full orchestras. But we'll get to Sibelius Ultimate a little later. But ultimately, this is all it takes to start writing music. I mean, if you want to be fancy here, I'll do a quick drum beat. Yeah, just to make it sound really nice. I'm not going to teach you anything here. It's for another lesson, but it's really so you can hear what it sounds like with drums. Whoops. Okay. Oh, this actually should be here. Oh, that sounds nice. I'm just gonna repeat that drum part, see what it sounds like. See if it works. Actually, I think these should all be snares rather than room shot. No, this one can be this. See if this sounds good. Oh, this should not be there. This is also a part of writing music. These sounds don't sound great at all. There's some really bad MIDI. Yeah. This might be better. I actually think this should be on the next one. Not there. And this is like messing about. Hey, I don't know. I have no plan for this. I didn't know if I was going to do drums or not. But just moving, seeing where the rhythm sits. Right, folks. And that is how you write your first 16 bars of music. I mean, you don't need to add drums. You don't even need to add bass. I would suggest you at least add the bass. But it's really that simple with a notation software. You can do all of this in a DAW. And if you wanna be taught how to do it in a DAW, just comment on the video. If you like this kind of stuff and you want more of it, just comment, like, subscribe, do as you please, really. And if you have anything that you would like me to look at and help you through this process, I've got a link to my email, callmekuboni@gmail.com. You can just send me an email. You can send me a PDF of what you've done. If you've downloaded Sibelius First from the link, I get nothing from this. It's just to help you guys. But if you want me to have a look, if you want me to give you some tips, you can send me a PDF. You can even send me your Sibelius file via email and I will respond. And if enough of you respond, I might even do a video where we talk through your first 16 bars. Okay, I'll see you on the next one, which is Sunday, where I will be covering harmony and what these chords are, how you can pick more suitable chords. And we'll still stick to the 3-part. Maybe we'll do a little bit of 4-part. It's a similar principle, but that should help you get along. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I will see you on the Sunday stream.